You're listening to the Get Meal Prep Show, a podcast about meal planning strategies, improving your nutrition, and getting dinner on the table. I'm your host, Susan Watson, registered dietitian, lifestyle nutrition coach, meal planning expert, and founder of the online meal planning course, Get Meal Prepped. If you're tired of eating like crap and not knowing what's for dinner, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the show. This is episode 1, and I have my business partner and good friend, registered dietitian Andrea Hardy, on the show with me today. We're going to be talking all about my love for the Instapot, so let's get to it. Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking all about the Instant Pot. I hope you've heard of it. It is a game changer when it comes to meal planning, and I've got Andrea Hardy here. Hello Andrea.
Hey Susan.
And she doesn't have an Instapot yet.
I don't, but it's on my Christmas list, and I am dying to find out, what your experience with it is.
Yes, so I've had a lot of questions from clients, from friends and family, all about the Instapot. First of all, what is it? Why is it a game changer? And first of all, when it comes to meal planning, I think everybody has heard of slow cookers or the meals that you can plug in and leave all day and have when you come home from dinner. Andrea, have you ever done slow cooker meals?
Yes, I do use my slow cooker. I'll admit I don't use it a ton. I probably use it like once a month. Because of the time it takes. By the time I actually think to get things started, it's either too short of a time or I'm gone all day and I find it spends too long in the crock pot. So I love the idea of the Instant Pot because I know it gets things done faster and is better suited to when I like to prep my meals, which is in the evening or getting stuff ready on the weekend and throwing it in to get done right away.
That's the thing, is like my slow cooker, I was using it quite a bit, but I always used it in the background, so I wasn't cooking full meals in it. If I was wanting to do slow cooker shredded chicken, I would put it on, but I'd also be having another meal. It was more the workhorse in the background. The other thing I found with a slow cooker was that whatever I put on, if I put it on at 7 or 8 in the morning and it was out for the day, when I come home, it would be kind of like brown mush.
Yeah, that was the thing, is 10 hours is too long in the slow cooker, and really you leave for work, you drive, you get to work, you drive home, and it's been 10 hours. So it's just too long for a slow cooker.
Yeah. So enter Instant Pot. Now I have to clarify a few things. Every once in a while I might call it Instapot because it's just, I guess, my slang for it, but it really is called Instant Pot. And there's a couple different versions on the market, but what it is a electric pressure cooker. So if you might remember, it's actually before my day, or maybe my parents never cooked with a pressure cooker, but there used to be one that you would put on the stove and it would have a lid that would seal and almost a valve at the top that would rattle. And I think in the past, you can just Google it and see pictures, but these things had a tendency to explode. I remember in university they were teaching us this about pressure cookers, and it actually kind of scared me.
I think because the steam is so hot. I've burnt myself on a pressure cooker before. Not severely. I got out of the way in time, but really, it's big, it's heavy, it's dangerous.
Do you have a pressure cooker? Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
very cold pot that has the vacuum sealed lid and the steam that comes out of the top, and
whoever came up with it, I wish I had done a little bit more research on who created the electric Instant Pot. But what they have now is, it looks like a cylinder version of a slow cooker, but it's an electric pressure cooker, so you don't have to use it on the stove, and you would just plug it in, and it has, I think mine has 10 or 13 different safety features, so it's never going to blow up. It's never going to explode on you. The lid, to know it's locked, when you lock it down, it actually has a little song that goes doo doo. You know it's locked, and when you unlock it, and it actually won't let you unlock it if there's still pressure, if the button hasn't gone down. So I feel very safe with it. However, when I did first buy it, I went on a bunch of different YouTube videos to just make sure I'm a much more visual person. Even though I had a nice little manual, I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. So I watched a few videos on how to go ahead and, make sure that it was set up properly. But so now the question about the Instapot is, why would somebody, get it? Like, what is the advantage over a slow cooker? So to be honest, like, slow cooker, I was at Costco the other day, brand new ones were going about $30-$40. And same almost size, like they're pretty big on your counter. But a Instapot or Instant Pot is going to run you, I think the entry level ones are about $129, and they go up from there. So there's a 7-in-1, a 9-in-1, a 10-in-1, and they keep going up. There's ones that pair to your phone. There's ones like with the Bluetooth. Lots of different versions. Those go up to $300-$400. I don't think that, even if you're a techie, like, I don't know if it's really worth it to go that high end. So my first Instant Pot was the entry level one that was about $129. And the reason why I say the first one is because I had put it on my stove, because it's so clunky and it's kind of big, and I didn't want to use it on my counter. And I had pushed it to the back after cleaning up, and it actually turned the knob on the stove and caught it on fire and melted it. Everybody, when I said this to my audience, they're like, "Oh, do you have a picture?" And I so should have, but I was so like down on myself about it that I didn't want my husband to know, because he would be like, "I told you not to leave anything on the stove." So anyways, I just threw it out and was like, put my head in shame, and I was like, I just got to go and get another one. And I actually only lasted about probably 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, before I went to Best Buy to get another one. And they had the next version up. So they still had the $129 version one, which is a 7-in-1. And for an extra $20, they had a 9-in-1 or 11-in-1. I don't know, lots of different features. And I was like, ooh, for only $20 more. So I actually went and got the next version up. And now I salvaged all the parts from my old one. So I have 2 inserts and I have 2 lids. Awesome. So when it comes to meal prep, I can, really fly with using it. I don't recommend burning your Instapot on the stove to get extra inserts. You can actually order them on Amazon. So that's probably the more, safety way to get extra ones. But pardon me?
So what's the difference between a crock pot and an Instant Pot?
Okay, so when we think about cooking the food in a slow cooker, the temperature, I don't even really know what it gets to, but I don't even think it gets to boiling, right? Like, I've never really seen a slow cooker really come to a boiling temperature, but it'll heat up the food over a slow period of time on low. Think of even the high version on the slow cookers, it's still pretty low. And you can't cook anything fast in it, which is great if you want something to cook slow over a long period of time. So stews, meat, and as it cooks over a long period of time, it tenderizes the meat so that it's like fall off the bone, very tender, fall off when you pull it apart. So a lot of people like the slow cooker meals, and you can really just set it and forget it. Problem is with the slow cookers, they tend to dry out, or not enough liquid, or too much liquid, and it all becomes one color from overcooking. Now, the difference with the Instapot is that it uses pressure to cook it. So you're able to cook at a higher temperature and inject more heat at a higher temperature in a slower period of time, because it seals off and the steam builds up inside of the pressure cooker, which actually you're able to get a higher temperature than if you're just boiling water. Andrea, you might be able to explain that whole science a little bit better. But that's basically the difference. And so there's a few things. So you're able to cook things faster, and I find that the flavor on some of the stuff actually is a little bit better, because you're infusing, like if you put garlic and onions into your base and then you put some meat, it actually is infusing the flavor a little bit better versus just kind of boiling it all together. Yeah. So I find things do taste a little bit better. But let's talk about the benefits when it comes to
Yeah.
time
I'd
saver
love
stuff.
to know how much time it saves you.
So first of all, with the different models, you've got seven to 10 different features on it. I'm not exactly sure all of them, but because a lot of the times I'm just using manual, I've learned to kind of know the Instant Pot and know what I can cook in it in roughly the amount of time. But if you just want to use the factory settings, there you can use the Instant Pot for cooking your rice, so brown rice, regular rice, any grain, so whole grains like buckwheat or quinoa.
Barley takes forever. I'm sure it's super fast in the Instant Pot.
Barley would probably be about 8 minutes.
That's incredible.
So yeah, really, really fast. What I like about it is that you can do all of those. I haven't really found too many things you can't do in it. So I've done spaghetti squash, which if you ever done it in the oven, you know can take a long time. And I set my Instant Pot for about 2 or 3 minutes,
Oh,
and it's really good. So let me explain, because I might make it sound more awesome than it is. The settings that you put on the Instant Pot, let's say quinoa, you can cook in 1 minute. But you have to also build in the time it takes to build up pressure, and then also after you've hit the release valve. So it's not technically 1 minute. It might be 8 in total. But still, like
that's a
versus
big
20
time
minutes on the
saver.
stove. Yeah, and what I like about it, like quinoa, if you put on the stove, you still have to kind of watch it and maybe stir it. Um, Whereas this, what I've done before is I've put a whole bunch of like ingredients together in the Instant Pot, put it on, and went out to go pick up my little one from daycare. When I came home, it was ready. Whereas I couldn't do that on the stove. Like you'd
For
want to make
sure.
sure that things were, not going to burn. So that's what I like about it. So let me explain what you do with quinoa. So you would put in a cup of quinoa with a cup of water. Maybe if you want to add a little bit of seasonings like dried soup, vegetable mix. I get them at Bulk Barn. It's really nice.
Hmm.
And there's just like dried, dehydrated onions and carrots. And mix that in. Add your water, put the lid on, set it for a minute, and go out. So it's going to take about 3 to 5 minutes to heat up to pressure. Then it clicks off for the 1 minute. It's going to cook for the 1 minute, and then it turns to just warming. And what's happening then is the pressure is now going to be slowly releasing. So you can just leave it and it will slowly release on its own, or there's a quick release. And if you let it slowly release, it's still kind of cooking. So with quinoa, that's why you do it for the 1 minute, and it's slowly still steaming as
Right.
you go. If you wanted to not do that and do the quick release, you might have to put it on, say, for 5 minutes. And then
Right.
you can do the quick release and it will be done. So there's a couple different ways of doing it, but understanding how the pressure cooker works, I think, is key to being able to adapt your recipes. So,
Hmm.
number one question I get from people is, I want more Instant Pot recipes so that I can use this wonderful device for cooking supper. And I found one cookbook so far that is really good. There's definitely quite a few recipes on the internet, but I just got this cookbook at Costco recently. I'll show you. Can you see
Ooh,
it?
Ultimate Instant Pot Pressure Cooker Cookbook.
Yeah, you can see the price there. It's about $18.99.
Yeah.
Um, and it's got everything in it from homemade cheesecake to like hummus and the different meat recipes in there. So this is a good book to get started with. But what you'll find too is that I think when we think about slow cooker or pressure cooker, we think one pot meals. And that's the first thing where I think people go wrong is a lot of the times there are recipes that you can do all in one, but most of them, I would say 80% of them, you're cooking one or two components in it, and then you're to do a complete balanced meal, like what we talk about in the meal planning course, getmealprep.com. You want to make sure that you have your vegetables, your protein, and your starch. And anytime you put everything into one pot, you've got that, first of all, everything turns into one flavor, everything looks kind of the same color as well.
Right.
So if we want to take a look at doing a pasta, I have done a one pot pasta before. What I did was I took the pot, and so the different features that are in the Instapot, I said the rice cooker, pressure cooker, slow cooker, you can do yogurt, but it has a really neat feature that you won't find on a lot of slow cookers, and it's a saute function. So
Cool.
yes, just think of your frying pan, or think about some recipes for a slow cooker that say that you have to brown your meat first.
Right. Yeah.
You can do it all in one. So you turn on the saute function, and you're going to throw in your onions and your garlic, a little bit of olive oil, and you're going to saute it. And it heats up to the point where you could actually boil water in it. And you saute those onions. Then what I've done is I've put in a couple cans of tomato sauce. And then I might take, if I'm doing, say, a chicken cacciatore, then I would put in cubes of chicken. You can also saute the chicken while you're doing your onions and garlic, whatever you want. Put the chicken in with your canned tomatoes, and then add maybe about a cup of water, and then throw in 1 or 2 cups of pasta. You'd want to have a recipe for this, but I've learned now just to kind of, you would know roughly how much liquid you need. It's about double, especially with pasta, because it absorbs it all. Put the lid on, put it on for about 3 or 4 minutes, and let it slow release, and the liquid from the Instapot soaks into the pasta, and then it's all done. So that would be a really good way of doing a one pot meal.
Right.
But for a lot of things, I use it for cooking things in the background. So my grains like quinoa or brown rice, wild rice, which usually takes forever, is really fast.
I suck at cooking wild rice. Like it always ends up the wrong texture. It's either like gooey or firm. So
Yeah.
I've heard with
Yeah.
the Instant Pot, it's very hard to mess up grains that I normally mess up.
Yeah. So the book that it comes with has like all the recommendations for the amount of water that you need versus grains. And it's actually a little bit less, because I think with the steam you don't lose a lot.
Right.
So
Yeah, I
with
wondered when you said 1 cup of quinoa and 1 cup of water. I was like, oh, I use 1.5 cups, but that totally makes sense.
yeah, and um, so I always follow the instructions on that, and I've started committing some of it to memory. But say brown rice was always, 1 cup brown rice, 2 cups of water. It's like 1.5, or 1 3/4. It's less because you're not losing it all in evaporation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. And a lot of people complain to me they don't, want to move to brown rice because it takes so much longer to cook, even though it's healthier, or even wild rice, right, or quinoa. It's a breeze in the Instapot. It's
That's
very fast.
awesome. Because I love bulgur. Bulgur is kind of big at my house right now, and it's it does take a little while to cook, about the same as quinoa, but it'd be nice if I didn't have to stand over the stove, stirring it, making sure there's enough water. Whereas
Yes.
Instant Pot, you can kind of set it, walk away, do something else in your kitchen.
Yeah.
It takes less
It's
focus.
less focus, but when people say like, oh, is it a time saver, think of the different ways it's saving you time. It's saving you time by you're able to set it and forget it. You can actually leave the house for a few minutes. You can go do something else. And that's what I like about it, is that what I might have is, my meat or something that I'm cooking is in the oven. And then, well, to have a balanced meal, you want your protein, your vegetables, and your grains. Well, the Instapot is cooking my grains, and then I might have a side salad. So it's a workhorse in the background. It's saving me time because I'm not having to oversee it. So before I got the Instapot, I'm very much a appliance junkie, to be honest. And I have had at one time a couple yogurt makers. I've had a veggie steamer, a rice cooker, a slow cooker. I've had all those, multiple ones of them. And with the Instapot, I was able to get rid of a lot of them. So the Instapot also has a slow cooker function, which is great. That's why I'm telling people you can get rid of your slow cooker, because if you still want to put something on for 8 hours, the difference with that one is you're just the pressure valve on the top, you're leaving it open versus closing it where it builds up pressure.
Right.
So it has a slow function where you can still use it for a slow cooker. One of my favorite things that I was doing in my slow cooker was slow cooker shredded chicken, and I would put it on for 5 or 6 hours. I would put in chicken breast with a little bit of broth, put it on and leave it for 6 or 8 hours. When it was done, I could shred the chicken and use it in tons of different recipes like soups, stews, quesadillas, sandwiches, salad, you name it, different pasta dishes. It was great. I could cook it once and have it for multiple different meals. But at the same time, I'd have to plan ahead and make sure I had time where I was home for 6 to 8 hours to do it, or I was going to come home and be able to work on it. With the Instant Pot, I can put it on for 15 minutes and the chicken is ready in 15 minutes. So I love that.
Ideal. I like
Yeah.
that.
Well, and think about if you're going to do a big batch cook-a-thon, which I really recommend doing, taking a day and just batch cooking a whole bunch of ingredients. And then I call them cooked ingredients. So in our meal planning course, we talk about ways to work smarter, not harder. And one of the recommendations I say is don't be cooking meals from scratch every day. Use cooked components.
Crazy.
It can, right? I only cook 3 days a week. And use cooked components in your meal. So shredded chicken would be considered a cooked component. And you want to have a freezer full of this ingredient instead of, you go to the store, you see chicken on sale and you bring home a bunch of chicken and you might put them in freezer bags and put them in the freezer raw. Well, you're still probably not getting dinner on the table very fast because you've got these bricks of frozen uncooked chicken. But if you go on your freezer inventory list and you're like, oh, I've got bags of shredded chicken, what 20-minute meal can I make out of that, or 10-minute meal can I make out of that? You're going to get dinner on the table a lot faster. So with the Instant Pot, I will back-to-back batch cook a bunch of slow cooker shredded chicken because it's only 15 minutes and I can get a whole bunch done and have that in my freezer
That's such
all
a
ready
time
to go.
saver when you do a meal prep day, is like, I'm stirring pots on the stove that take an hour, or I'm using my slow cooker that takes 3 to 4 hours or 5 to 6 hours. And so if I was able to just whip through it, this just makes me want Christmas to come faster. It's on my Christmas list. So
I know it's and depending on where you live in the world, if you're listening to this, if you're in Canada, like we are, London Drugs, I see it go on sale, like the entry level one, go on sale for $89 every couple months. So that's like the least expensive place I've seen it.
Are you familiar with like the Bay Christmas one-day sales?
No.
Okay, so every day of December, the Bay has one item on for like a wicked deal. Okay. I wonder if they do the Instant Pot for that.
I don't know. I don't know.
Big appliances, or I guess small appliances like that.
Yeah. Oh, probably. Like it's going to be for sure something people want on their Christmas list. So yeah, that's good. Look, good for you for waiting on your Christmas list. I'm just like that instant person, instant want. Yes. I blow one or melt one. I need to go get another one. But okay, so let me tell you about some of the things that I've done in it. Spaghetti squash. Okay, so that takes forever in the oven. What I'll do is I'll take a spaghetti squash, cut it in half, take out the seeds with a melon ball. Yep. Is it a baller? I was like, I don't know.
That's what I call it.
So I'll scoop out the seeds and then I'll take the spaghetti squash, and there's a little basket that goes inside of the Instant Pot if you don't want things touching the bottom. So you put half a cup of water and then you put your 2 halves of your spaghetti squash in, put the lid on, seal it, turn it on high for 3 minutes and walk away. It'll finish after 3 minutes, and then I'll let it steam for another 2 or 3, but it also goes from that really nice, I like it kind of crunchy, I don't like it when it's turned to mush. And it goes from crunchy to mush really fast too. So don't leave it on the slow release for too long. But I would say, 5 to 8 minutes is great in total cooking time. And then take the lid off, let the air kind of cool off a bit, and then you've got your spaghetti squash.
Awesome.
Um,
Have you done ground beef or turkey in it at all?
Yes. So with that, you turn the saute function on, and you would put your ground turkey, ground beef in there. And I always like to brown it a little bit, and then whatever else you're going to put in there. Um, because, ground beef, you kind of want to saute all sides of it. Like I don't think you can put in, say, 3 pounds of it.
Right.
Um, and because it cooks pretty fast, like it would turn into like a big meatloaf if you did that.
Right.
But if you're put in a couple cups of ground beef and saute it, then then put whatever sauce. Say if you want to make,
Taco seasoning or something.
yeah, taco seasoning or taco meat, that would work out really good. At that point, I don't know. Like I think that it's probably just as fast to use a frying pan.
Gotcha.
Because if you steam it, like you have to add a little bit of moisture, and then it's going to not be that good. But think about, say, stroganoff.
Right.
Okay, so you put your ground beef in, saute that with onions, throw in some mushrooms because you gotta have mushrooms.
I love mushrooms.
Then you would add whatever base you're going to use. So some people just throw in canned mushroom soup. I like to do more a bit of a roux, so milk with a little bit of flour, and then your egg noodles. And so you're going to have about a cup of liquid in there, and then throw in about 2 cups of egg noodles, and the steam will cook the noodles. And I would put it on for about, if it was egg noodles, maybe 5 minutes, and then open the lid. And then if you're like myself, like to put like frozen peas in it, put the peas in after.
That's
Don't
a
put
good
them in
idea.
first, right? Because you're gonna think that frozen peas are already cooked. And so think about those ingredients. A lot of the times I'll make something and then finish off my Instapot meal, because you can put the saute function back on. And then if you need
Right.
to
It's more
warm,
like
say
a
if you're,
pot that way. So
yeah,
really
then
it's a one pot kind of meal.
it is. It is. So I wouldn't. Where some recipes might say like throw it all in one. Well, then things are going to cook at different temperatures. So after you're done doing your stroganoff, then you can open the lid, throw in your frozen peas, put the saute function on. It'll just make sure that the peas are cooked, and then you're done. So
That's
that's
awesome.
one way of doing it. Um, One of the best rib recipes I've made. Now, this is a treat meal. I'm not gonna, say that you want to have baby back ribs every night, but on a treat meal, what I've done was, so ribs, usually on the barbecue, take forever to get really nice, fall off the bone type
Mm-hmm.
ribs. Instapot, like 40 minutes,
That's
if that,
impressive. Yeah.
right? So
Because lots of
you,
people boil them and then barbecue them or boil them and then stick them in the oven. Like it's just a big, I never
yeah,
cook ribs because I'm like, I
yeah.
cannot be bothered. I don't care
Well,
if it's a nice meal.
I think that, Brian is, if he likes ribs, like he'll give you a thumbs up for this. So depending on how many ribs you have, like you want to look at your user manual to tell you exactly how much time you do. But you would get your ribs and you would cut them into about 4 or 5 pieces, maybe about this long. You put your basket inside the Instapot, and then you line the ribs up along the inside so they're standing up. Put half a cup of water in, put the lid on, depending on how many you have, between 20 and 40 minutes. Put it on and walk away. When it's done, you gotta be really careful to pull them out because the meat's gonna almost want to fall off. It's super tender. Then you
Mm,
lay them on a baking sheet, um, brush them with your favorite barbecue sauce, broil it for 5-10 minutes, and you're done.
that's
Like,
perfect. No
yeah,
more like 3 hours of boiling and
no,
barbecuing.
yeah, exactly. And honestly, I'm not a ripper. I don't like eating meat off bones very much. I will, but it's not my like go-to meal. Um, and I also find that ribs, I don't like chewing fat. So I find
Yeah.
that sometimes like ribs can be kind of fatty. But what I found about doing them in Instapot was that the heat actually cooked all the fat, and the fat dripped, I guess, down below the basket,
Hmm.
and they tasted really lean. I was like, oh, these are like, this is all meat. There's no fat on them. So
That's
that was
true.
another reason I really like them, is it was a lean way of cooking them.
That's great.
Okay, so that's meat. Let's talk about beans and lentils.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, I still buy canned chickpeas and canned beans, but I was reading somebody's blog post online about, is it cheaper to cook your beans or to buy them?
I know you talk a lot about it at getmealprep.com, so that is excellent, and I can't wait to get one.
Oh, potatoes. Do you guys do a lot of potatoes?
This is what I remember using the pressure cooker for, was potatoes. So you'd peel a whole
Yeah.
potato. I remember peeling whole potatoes, sticking them
Yep.
in the pressure cooker, and
Yep.
then having to take this big, massive, heavy pressure cooker, stick it under the tap, run the tap with cold water so that you could actually open it up and get the potatoes out.
Yeah. No, this picture, you know, those little baby potatoes that you can buy?
Mm-hmm.
I'll wash those. I'll put them just in directly like that. Like I'll just wash them, put them in there, cup of water in the bottom, turn it on, let it slow release cook. And they are so perfect. Like they're nice and soft and moist and don't feel like they've dried out. You can peel your potatoes and do actual, you know, red potatoes or yellow potatoes in them. That would be
You
fine
could
too. I
probably
just
even not peel it. I tell people not to peel their potatoes. This is just, the memory of my childhood.
yeah.
Eat the
You can put
skins, guys. Fiber.
whole potatoes in there. So sweet potatoes are the ones that I like to do because I find putting them in the oven, it just takes forever. It's so long, and
So
um, I'll poke them, right, and then sometimes they ooze out some of their natural juices, and it's just sometimes a bit of a mess. Whereas the Instapot, you can put them in there, and I've done them in 3 to 5 minutes, like with the pressure cooking, and I just chop one in half just so it's not so thick, and it cooks really fast that way. One of the things I haven't done yet is you can do some savory or sweet desserts like cheesecake. I haven't done that yet, and I haven't done yogurt. Um, I've always just used my stove for doing yogurt, but I know that you can use that. I did donate my yogurt makers to the thrift store because I know that this device can do it. So I don't have that anymore. I just haven't got around to making yogurt. It's the other thing. Oh, hard-boiled eggs, game changer.
Yeah, no
Okay,
kidding.
so
Time saver for sure.
well, and hard-boiled eggs I find are just a pain in the butt to boil on the stove, and then make sure that you catch it on time, right? Because you don't want them to be overdone. And then, so with the Instapot, I'll put the tray in, a little bit of water. I'll put it on for 1 minute, let it slow release for 3 to 5 minutes, and then open it up and just add cold water from the sink to the pot, and then let it sit. And then the nice thing too is, you know, when you peel it and it gets all like the shells stick, it doesn't do that with this.
Awesome.
So
Probably
they
some
just
of the
come
steam,
off.
it helps to kind of
Yeah,
release the shell.
yeah,
Great.
excellent. So I think that's about like all that I have to say.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to flip through this and see if there's any other ideas. But you know, I would say 80% of things that you do when it comes to cooking, you can do in an Instapot. If you live in a dorm or you're in the college, university dorms, like this would be a great thing to have if you're allowed them, because you can do so much, especially just that saute function. If you don't like cooking on the stove, this is really good too. So yeah, I would love to hear if anybody has more questions about the Instapot. I hope I answered a lot of the questions that have come in from clients, even just how to use it. So far, a lot of the recipes that I've used before I got this, specifically for the Instant Pot cookbook, was I just adapted slow cooker recipes. They're all adaptable to the Instant Pot once you kind of understand how the Instant Pot cooks using steam and pressure. So I would say any slow cooker recipe you could adapt. And if you're not too sure how to adapt it, send me an email, Susan@alittlenutrition.com, or info@ Nutrition Academy. We could definitely get some more questions, because I think if I use it all the time, I don't know what people struggle with and what their questions are. I look forward to you getting one.
For Nutrition Academy.
Oh, .co. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot that. So info@nutritionacademy.co.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that's about it. Do you have any more questions about the Instapot?
No, I think that wraps it up really nicely.
Are you gonna go for the one that has a Bluetooth that you can
No,
sync to your phone and
I really
notify
like. I can't
you?
even handle the alarm on my house being synced to my phone. So I'm a
Okay.
traditionalist. I'll stick to the 11, 10 feature, 9 feature one.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Okay, well, that's all for today, and we'll have some links to some of the information that we talked about in the show notes below. And make sure you connect with us and let us know what you think. If you have any more questions, we'd be happy to answer them.